Floyd Carcino here, man, and yes, I've got all your messages. So from the title, I will go ahead and address everything that you were asking about in the Mayweather interview. Now, from the inception of everything that was going on, good people, you guys have asked me from the bottom of your hearts, genuinely, what did I think about the Floyd Mayweather interview? What did I think about his take? He made a lot of good points, a lot of great points, but there were a lot of things that he said that I definitely did not agree with. So don't forget to hit the like button coming in. Shouts out to everybody who was making videos on it and following it, from Fight Hub, Fight Hype, Ben Thompson, them, 78 Sports TV, Blood Boxing, of course, Boxing and Basketball. Everybody who has made videos about what transpired on that stage. I felt, and what I really feel is the promotion for this fight that they're putting on right now is the wrong way to do it, in my personal opinion. They're using controversy and connecting Canelo's name to Tank Davis, to use Canelo to push Tank, just by stirring up or trying to allude to a controversy over a situation where Canelo tested positive once when he went back to Mexico, and since then he's been training here exclusively in San Diego, where he's taken the blood and urine test, the VADA test, no problems. So it shows and proves that the system of promoting is all about controversy. We see that. But there's a smarter way to doing it. And there's a way you don't have to do it to deceive the masses. Now, the casuals, they don't care anyway. It's just something for social media with them. Something to be mad at, but it's genuinely connected back to Floyd Mayweather. So it would be all the attentions on Floyd and not Davis versus Cruz. By the way, it's going to be a great fight. This is a great fight, ladies and gentlemen. You guys don't know it yet because you guys don't really know who Cruz is, the pit bull. This is a great style matchup of a fight. This is a fight I would be glad to pay for to see. It's a much better fight to me than Rolly, to be honest. Now, my only problem is that when you allude to these things or say, hey, this guy tested positive before and this and that, and try to take away another guy's accomplishments, it mirrors what they tried to do with you with Manny Pacquiao. Every accomplishment you did, they tried to throw a monkey wrench in and said, well, the guy was overweight. Well, this guy had a substance abuse. Well, that guy, his dog died. They came up with every excuse when Floyd Mayweather beat him because he was the better fighter. Now, Canelo's winning because he's the better fighter. We have to try to take that shine away because we feel another guy is better. Floyd should know from going through that his entire boxing career not to do that to another human being. So that's why I didn't like what he said about Canelo, period. He should have never spoke on that. Why not? Because one, it's not his concern, and plus it's been addressed But he's speaking of randomness and using it just to stir controversy to try to delude what Canelo is as the face of the sport. But they used all these tactics on him. So it's like saying, if you was bullied in high school, in grammar school, you don't go to college and be a bully. You know what that felt like when someone was doing that to you. So why would you do it to someone else? But 9 times out of 10, we see that behavior passed on. So that's what I'm saying. The same things that happened to him, he's passing that on in the wrong way. Floyd Mayweather, still love him like a brother, but I disagree with his comments on Canelo. He made a lot of good points sitting up here though. But in that aspect, me and him disagree. Wholeheartedly disagree. And I'm glad to see Leonard Ellaby got his lining back together for his goatee, because for a while that wasn't looking right. It was distracting. Well, if you want to look at it, he's promoting PBC, because Floyd gets a check off PBC no matter what. Now you might be saying this is a great fight, but it isn't pay-per-view. No, it's not pay-per-view, but it's a great match. That is a great bout. Cruz versus Davis for the lightweight world championship is great. Is Tank being protected? Yes. Is Tank being put in safe fights? Yes. You put him in with Josh Taylor and he will lose. Josh Taylor, I believe, will beat Tank Davis. And that's something that Floyd probably knows. Me and him never spoke on it. But when you put him up, Tank was great because of the type of fight and style he fights at this weight class. I mean, at the weight classes lower and like where he's at 135 and all, those guys he can go through. He hits like a middleweight. So his power was way bigger than the weight division he was in. Now he's going up in weight. And once you start doing that, you're going to start ballooning up to the weight class to where your power isn't, okay, these guys ain't going nowhere. Now what can you do? So that's why he's been working with Floyd and Barry Hunter. He's been listening, saying, look, you ain't going to be able to knock everybody out. You're going to have to outbox these guys. Some fights and some nights, you're just going to have to be the better boxer. And that's what Floyd's been trying to get him to do, because in the amateurs, Tank could box. He used to box more. He just used to knock people out. Floyd's not illiterate at all. You let the media tell you that. This man made $1 billion being illiterate? I don't think so. You think Rockefeller and all those dudes knew how to, put their name on skyscrapers? They knew the designs. Rockefeller didn't know how to design a skyscraper. That was someone else's job. But they allowed themselves with people who are great in their field. Floyd was smart enough to attach himself to great businessmen. Illiterate people don't do that. Floyd Mayweather can read and write. So I don't know what you're talking about, sir. So they want to find anything they can to try to tear the man down. The man got to try to prove to y'all he can read and write because of a sound bite they played on the internet. I don't know who's worse, the people that played it just to get some publicity when they had it written in emojis. So you guys know what the iHeartRadio thing looks like, but if you somebody who don't know what the hell that is, they got an emoji, a eye with the emoji in there, and you gotta try to read that. Like, what the hell is this? I love heart, but it's just not making sense. And then it's 6 o'clock in the morning. You got somebody up there at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning trying to read something. And he's out there doing this drop for them. Something he don't have to do. So now, for that little bit of hee-hee-ha-ha, you done lost everybody going there from him. Congratulations. So now, a lot of people turned down that. They were turned off by that. They had to come out and apologize for that. But I felt like this whole thing was more about attention on Floyd than it was Tank. You know, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but if you're gonna sit there, you should at least have Tank Davis sitting to your right or to your left. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I felt it should have went down, because this is about Davis versus Cruz. Why are we having a Floyd Mayweather Q&A when he's not an active fighter? He's basically the promoter. And it's like, okay, if we're going to do a Q&A, we should at least have Tank there during this Q&A, because this is his like final presser. You would think Floyd Mayweather was fighting today. Well, not today. It's actually Sunday. Now, this is what makes it worse. This fight is on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, not Saturday. A lot of people think it's tonight, but it's December the 5th on Sunday. A Sunday fight. Now, how many people are going to be watching the NFL game? Who does a boxing pay-per-view on a Sunday? But see, here's the thing. PBC can't afford to just fork out money anymore for these fights. They're throwing everything on pay-per-view. What used to be regular fights are not regular fights no more. They're all coming on pay-per-view. So the money they're making on pay-per-view, they're saying, hey, that's your money. You're on pay-per-view. People want to pay to see you. We can put the fight up. And if they want to spend money to see you, they can. You're not going to make a lot of money doing that, but you're going to make enough to probably cover all the expenses, and it's no money out of your pocket. So PBC don't have to spend money. They're good. It's on pay-per-view. But what does that do, really? That messes up the pay-per-view game. It does. It messes up what pay-per-view is supposed to be. That's right. Super chat work. Thank you for the Cash App last night. Somebody sent me a Cash App saying, I'm sorry, I haven't donated in a while. And it was a really good message. I appreciate it. You know, if you can donate. You know, that's what it's there for. So I appreciate that. That was real heartfelt. But Cash App don't allow you to comment back. I could just put a heart or an emoji thing on it. But no, he was wrong about Canelo. Canelo right now has fought better competition. I think Terrence is the pound for pound better fighter because he's been able to adjust, but he hasn't. They've been actually, PBC, their company, has actually been keeping fighters away from Terrence Crawford. So until I see his fighters step up and really do something, you can't talk about Canelo. You can't mention Canelo. Canelo has fought the top of his division. He fought Triple G twice. Period. He fought Triple G twice. He fought Kovalev. He fought all of these guys the public was asking for him to fight, and they keep coming with new guys. They said, oh, he wouldn't fight Billy Joe Saunders. He fought Billy Joe Saunders. Oh, he wouldn't fight a brother. He won't fight Danny Jacobs or somebody black. He fought them. He offered to fight to the Charlos. The ones y'all wanted to see, because he wouldn't fight black fighters. He fought Arislan De Laura. He fought Austin Trout. He fought all of these guys. James Kirkland. He fought all of these guys where you guys didn't believe he would fight. And he's winning impressively. So my thing is this. Why or what are we upset about? I'm confused. What are we upset about? Are we upset that people are winning? Or are we upset about how it's going down? People are waiting for Canelo to lose. They waiting for him to be at the point where he just falls. They don't want him to succeed. It's cool. I get it. And he's the star of the sport. He's the biggest thing in the sport right now. And he's winning impressively. Well, we won't give that guy his flowers. And we're going to promote another guy because he's not in our stable. Or we don't like the fact that he's close to us. So we got to tear down. And when you have that tear down mentality, it's never good. It's always going to come out no good. Always going to be no good. But they don't tell you that. He gave some props to Ennis Boots. Ennis Boots, but we don't really know what Ennis Boots is yet because he's still fighting PBC fighters. Now, until they get real with us as boxing fans and start saying, hey, we got the best fighters in the world and we ready to prove it, instead of feeding them baby food for about 5-6 years, they eating baby food, and then you try to put them out into the world and they get destroyed once they get outside PBC. You see what I'm saying? Boo Boo. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. Boo Boo. Who has Boo Boo fought? Boo Boo Andrade has not earned a fight at Canelo Alvarez. Neither really has the Charlo, but the Charlos at least has been fighting. He screwed his own career up. And now he's trying to get himself back together. Fine. Go beat the Charlos. Go beat someone of stature so that they can make an ask for that fight. Do you realize that I'm a fan of Boo Boo Andrade? I would love to have seen that fight, but it's not going to make 2 cents because don't nobody know who the hell Boo Boo Andrade is. He just had a fight like 2 weeks ago and nobody even know. Nobody even knows. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. What about ridiculous rehydration clause? Canelo fought Floyd Mayweather. There was a rehydration clause in the contract because Canelo's naturally a bigger guy than Floyd Mayweather. So they try to use that to make the fight more even. Some people use it as a weapon of advantages to tear down another fighter, like Oscar De La Hoya had one when he fought Manny Pacquiao, because Pacquiao is naturally smaller than Oscar De La Hoya. Now, nobody had Floyd's number. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody had Floyd's number. You know, in your estimation, there's a lot of people that don't understand or might think, Floyd made a fighter could have beat. They couldn't beat Floyd. A lot of people say, "Oh man, Shane was younger. They'd have fought at 130. He'd have knocked Floyd out. Floyd would have destroyed Shane at 130. Would have destroyed him, because Shane fought the same way at 130 that he fought at 147. Shane Mosley never jabs, and because he don't jab, a fighter with no jab is not going to beat Floyd Mayweather, because you're going to have a jab to fight Floyd. That's just it. The jab is going to give you a chance. If you don't jab, you are not going to have a chance to beat Floyd. Costa Tszyu versus Floyd Mayweather would have been a great fight, but Costa Tszyu would have lost that fight, because Floyd would have taken away all of those counter positions that Costa likes to do, because Costa's flat-footed. Costa likes to stay flat-footed and throw hard shots. And he basically times you. And speedy fighters like Zab made mistakes, and he couldn't fight going backwards. So when Costa was bringing pressure to Zab was using his athleticism. He hits hard, he's fast, and he has athleticism, but his feet are not necessarily where they should be as a fighter. He didn't have great feet. He had fast feet, he was fast, but that's why he couldn't fight going backwards. He didn't have those boxing tools of knowledge to know how to fight on the move, or on the go. He could only fight coming forward, being offensive. But when someone's bringing the pressure, he's got to back up and try to spin out so he can get back to a position where he's in control. And Costa Tszyu timed him very well, because he threw the punch where Zab was going to be. Zab had tendencies that he picked up as amateur and didn't even know it. It's just some of the reasons why he didn't make the 96 Olympic team. He was basically an alternate, because guys knew how to time him, because he had a tail. Like when you throw a jab, he always would move his head and duck to the same position. So what Costa Tszyu did was throw a bait jab out there to get Zab to react or move. And instead of, catching it with his gloves, Zab likes to move his head and, with every punch. When you do that, you're giving your opponent time to measure you. And that's how he got caught with that right hand. He threw a first one. The first right hand he caught him with was the setup. It's like, okay, now I know where he's going to be. So he did it again, a jab and right hand on top of it, and he threw the right hand where Zab was going to move his head. And Zab moved his head right into the right hand. He didn't throw the right hand where Zab's head was. He threw it where his head was going to be. So when Zab ducked and tried to get away from the jab, when he threw the jab, he moved his head right into the right hand that was coming. A lot of people don't know that until they go back and watch the fight, and you'll go back and see that, man, so you were right. He did do that. That's how you beat speed. Costa Tszyu was slower than Zab, a lot slower than Zab. But he beat him with timing. That's how you beat speed, with timing. So when you look at the situation that revolves around Floyd Mayweather, let's keep this in perspective. Floyd did all his thing in the ring already. He showed you he can adapt to anybody's style. Terrence Crawford is great, and one of the pound for pound fighters in his class, but he don't have the welterweights to bring that out. Now, to be honest, PBC fighters have just been fighting PBC fighters, and they're not great at all. None of them has proven they are worth the mustard. They are worth the money. Everybody they sent across the waters has been sent back in bags. Once they come out of them PBC camps, they get smoked. Manny Pacquiao at 40 years old was in there smoking these PBC fighters. AB, Adrian Broner, was getting smoked. Keith Thurman, they built him up one time, right? Pacquiao got him and made him look like a sparring partner in his 40s. So I can't crown these PBC guys until I see them fight everybody. When you ain't fighting guys from Top Rank, when you ain't fighting guys from the zones, when you ain't fighting guys, when you picking and choosing and dodging guys, I have to take notice to that. When I see the Charlo brothers and I see them not fighting anybody and they keep bragging like they whooping everybody, I got a problem with that. Charlo lost to a guy. They were fighting only because they thought Tony Harrison was washed up. They said, oh, this guy goes down easy. He got completely outboxed the first time. The second fight, they had this weird bottle corner situation with the water bottle, switching it up and going back and forth with this water bottle controversy. Then you have Then you have this thing where they came back. Tony was whooping him in that fight worse than the first fight. And they had him screwed on the scorecards. Charlo was going to win anyway. So that's because Tony Harrison didn't sign with PBC. So now you see how this works. And PBC has now become, and what it was supposed to be was different. PBC, when it was in its inception, was made to be different. We ain't gonna be like the other boxing promoters and all those other promotional companies. We gonna have the best fighting the best. That's what they said when they came out. I remember the quote. They had all them fighters up there, right? Danny Garcia. Has Danny Garcia fought anybody outside of PBC? Huh? He fought in Puerto Rico and got exposed for the first time in his life by Mauricio Herrera, right? Who keep getting robbed. Mauricio beat him in Puerto Rico, smoked him, but they couldn't have him win. They robbed him. That guy has been the most ripped off fighter in the history of boxing. Mauricio Herrera. He beat Benavidez, got robbed. Every time, that man is the most robbed fighter in history. Without a doubt, without question. Floyd didn't avoid anybody. What is y'all talking about? He fought everybody. No fighter in the history of boxing has fought more people than Floyd Mayweather, world champions and people that was at the top. Nobody has done it. Not even Marvin Hagler, who everybody loves. He ducked the guy. Marvelous Marvin has ducked somebody. Did you know that? But we love Hagler. Who was he supposed to fight that he didn't? Paul Williams. Paul Williams was fighting on the undercards of Floyd Mayweather. He had not beaten anybody of any stature to get a fight with Floyd Mayweather. You only wanted him to fight Floyd because he was 6'3", tall and long and lanky. Floyd would have beaten him. You know who beat Paul Williams and was the first guy to beat Paul Williams? I'm gonna test people boxing knowledge. Let's test people boxing knowledge. Who was the first guy to beat Paul Williams? Y'all got Google and still don't know. Here's a hint. He's from Puerto Rico. So it's not Sergio Martinez. Thank you. Somebody found out. It's Carlos Quintana. Now, is Carlos Quintana Floyd Mayweather? Is he better than Floyd Mayweather? No. So if Carlos Quintana can whoop Paul Williams in a fight, what do you think Floyd Mayweather gonna do to him? What do you think Miguel Cotto would have did to Paul Williams? Paul Williams was athletic. He was in great shape and he was athletic, and it's a tragedy what happened in his boxing career. Based on that motorcycle accident. Paul Williams, I loved him, but he didn't really punish anybody. He beat Margarito back when Margarito had the doggone cement in his hands. That's something y'all don't know either. Those plaster gloves, he had those on when he fought Paul Williams. Nobody talks about that because Paul Williams didn't get beat down like that. But if you watch the fight, because that stuff takes time to harden. So for the first 6 rounds, Paul Williams was touching him and moving him, pop, 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 whooping Margarito easy, blanking him out. 6 rounds to nothing. Then after 6 rounds, you seeing the way, go watch that fight again. Watch the way Paul Williams react to getting punched by Margarito. It's changing. He's like getting hit. He's like, whoa. Like, man, like this punches are getting harder. So he's moving away from him, turning him. He's getting hit. And he's trying to box him off. So Margarito won from round 7 all the way to 11. Because Paul was just trying to stay away from him. But Margarito ran out of gas. And in the 12th round, Paul went out there and got it. And he won the fight 7 rounds to 5. But no one knows because nobody focuses on that fight. But they go back to the Miguel Cotto fight and say, oh, he wore it with Cotto because he got busted with Shane. So they just automatically go to the Cotto fight. Now the Cotto fight makes sense, but they don't go back to the Paul Williams fight. And they reinstate him back into boxing just so they could feed him to Manny Pacquiao and Miguel Cotto. His trainer suspended for life. But we gonna bring him back and let him get 2 major pay-per-view checks just so we can use him as an example. That was a black eye to the game, I thought. Margarito shouldn't have been back. Sugar Ray Leonard did duck fights. Ray Leonard retired to duck fights. Every time he'll come back, he fought one fight and say, I don't like the way this fight went. I'm going back into retirement. And then he was gone for years. Came back out of retirement to fight Hagler. So he waited till Hagler was at the point where Hagler was going to lose. But Hagler ducked the guy. Hearns never ducked anybody. But they wouldn't let him fight Aaron Pryor. Sugar Ray Leonard wouldn't fight him. Thomas Hearns wouldn't fight him. That was Manny making that decision for him, and Angelo Dundee and his team making that decision for Ray. No, I scored the fight for Hagler. That's one thing I miss about Roger. Me and Roger would sit there and watch that fight, and Roger want to score the fights. He's like, let's sit down and score the fight. Ain't no damn way Hagler won that fight. He lost at the negotiation. No. It would have been just because it was his higher payday, he was really getting screwed. See, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, it's your highest payday, but we know you're going to turn it down because it don't make sense. All the conditions was for Sugar Ray Leonard. See, people look at the money. They don't look at all the detailed things that's detailed for you to lose. You know, Ray gets to choose the ring, Ray gets to choose the gloves, Ray gets to choose. It was all this Ray. Plus the money really wasn't fair. It would have been his highest payday, but it really wasn't a fair cut. So if you know your worth and you know I'm worth more than this, but then sometimes God protects people. Like, what if Floyd fought Margarito? Back when Margarito come up to him talking about, I want to fight you. And he had all this plaster going on. Everybody was Margarito crazy, right? Floyd avoid Margarito. Floyd avoid Margarito. Nobody knew nothing about Margarito until somebody put it online. Y'all thought, oh, this guy could beat somebody. I'm like, who is Margarito beat? See, that's where we lose track of reality. We start going with the fantasy. We get all excited and start running behind the fantasy. So now that we run behind the fantasy of, oh, Margarito's that guy, he's the world beater now. We got to focus on him. What has he done? Who is he beaten? He had beaten no one. I had to debate a doggone, basically a casual fan posing as a boxing, aficionado. But you gotta, man, what's his name? He ain't even, I don't even think he in the sport no more. Well, what's his name? Greg Montoya or something like that? Something Montoya. He thought he was the end all be all of boxing. He came on somebody else's show, Dave DeWinnes, and tried to tell him what's what. How are you gonna tell Dave DeWinnes anything? Who are you to tell Dave anything? No, I'm not, of course not. Ray never had the bigger fights than Floyd. Floyd got Ray beating all the books. But Ray is always going to stand out because when Ray was doing it, boxing was on national TV. Boxing was the biggest sport in the world. Basketball, football, Muhammad Ali passed the torch to Sugar Ray Leonard. And it went from the heavyweights to the lightweights. Sugar Ray Leonard was in there on the commercials and getting all these things. They robbed Floyd of a gold medal. He wasn't chosen. Ray Leonard was chosen to be that guy. And Ray was great. Don't get me wrong, Ray lived up to a lot of the things that people said about him. They said he was scared of Thomas Hearns, the hitman. And I felt they stopped the fight too early. I felt Hearns could have still continued. I mean, it was worse times for Tommy in the fight, and they still didn't stop the fight. They were still fighting. So you let that fight continue on, but Ray was losing on the cards. So Hearns would have won that fight easy. He made one mistake and it haunted him for like 20 years. He was like, do you realize all I had to do was tie the man up? And that's what he did in the rematch. If he got buzzed, if he got hurt, he tied him up. And in the second fight, he tied him up. First fight, he was young. He refused to tie him. But Tommy was so determined to drop Ray Leonard, that became his motivation. But what people don't know is as soft as Ray is and how he talk light, Ray is a puncher. Ray can punch. He throw those shoe shine shots, but Ray sit down and punch with you. And that's what would shock people. He would throw one real punch, and he had a mean left hook. That's Ray's strongest punch. A lot of people didn't know Ray could punch. He really could. And they just thought he was just flash because he'd throw tap, 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 tap. But see, that's how boxing really is. You don't throw everything hard. You throw some stuff off speed, then you throw something that really matter in there, and they don't know what's coming. They getting this light tap, tap. Yeah, I know, he ain't got nothing on it. Tap, tap, pop. Whoa, that was a big sharp hand, Butler. There it is. Wow, wow, whoa. And that's how you get caught. Ray knew how to finish you. If Ray got you hurt, Ray would normally finish you. Because Ray knew how to set it up. Ray had a boxing IQ. Ray could fight on the go. When you have too much of nose candy and you doing too much other stuff, you take away from yourself. You take away from your God-given abilities. You're diluting them. Ray Leonard had a brother that boxed. You don't really know who he is. That just shows you Ray was special. Oh yeah, I hated Ray Leonard. I didn't root for Ray at all. Ray to me I was a Tommy Hearns guy. That was it. It's me and Tommy against the world. Let's go, Tommy. It's Tommy's fault the way I like to see the fight go. His defense was his offense. He dropping the hand low, swinging it like a hook. Tommy, shoot, zip, stick. He was going down. So you know how sick I was after the Hagler fight. I was sick. That's a fight I knew we could beat Hagler. I'm like, we could beat this dude. I wanted a rematch. No, him and Hagler. Hagler, man, Hagler was on that stuff, beating his wife, throwing her against the walls, the doors, everything. He was so far gone off of it. This is before the fight with Ray. They had to come out there and Ray talked to him. He was so messed up. Like, man, yeah, I ain't fighting no more. He wouldn't even fight. He didn't announce his retirement. He's like, man, he had a beer belly. He drinking beer. He was like, and that's when Leonard said, oh, I'm fighting Marvin. And that's what Hagler was like, what? You will fight me now? Like, how dare you fight me now? You gonna fight me now? Okay. So he went in there like, man, when he was like, yeah, I think I'm coming back. He was like, well, who you gonna fight? He was like, you. Me? Yeah, I think we both gonna go into retirement. I should at least come back and fight you and give you that fight. And he was like, you will fight me now? And he just looked at it like, it was that time he came to my house. I knew it. He saw me. I was out of shape and he think he could take me. Oh, I'm finna show him he made a mistake. Hagler's wife stayed with him through all of that until she just couldn't take it no more. She had to leave. Because he was going to eventually kill somebody. So he started, hanging out with all the Euro dudes, doing all that blow, and he ended up moving across seas because he was going to go to jail here. So he moved overseas. Y'all don't know that about Marvin. See, there's a lot of stuff y'all didn't know about Hagler. They gonna tell you the highlights. They loved him. They don't mention none of the stuff he did. They don't got no pictures of Floyd, but he a woman beater. Ray Leonard and Hagler did it. I don't hate Marvin. I'm telling you the truth. This is the truth. The truth is gritty, it's ugly. The world history is ugly. But they still tell it, don't they? They put a bow on it, try to make it sound pretty. But if you can judge one man and try to make his career tainted, then why are you being hypocritical for another? I'm saying it's their personal business. So let it be thrown, whatever it is, throw it out. Judge them on what they did in the ring. If you want to decide which one was greater, we supposed to be judging it off boxing. So now that I done spoke factually about the same thing that you in here praising and kissing the dude there, now that I done brought that up, now you like, oh, well, you hating no dead man. No, I ain't hating no dead man. Usman would get knocked out by Canelo. Knocked out. I mean, but of course he would want that. He fighting the UFC. In the UFC, they don't make any money. So it's everybody keep talking about it's the sport of kings, and they ain't doing that. And Conor McGregor is still getting the most money. These dudes fight for peanuts. But yet, the company is making all the money. That's what I'm saying. Dana White, they like, Dana, you smart, man. You getting all the money, and these dudes doing all the fights. Shouts out to Uncle Frank. Shouts out to Blood Boxing, 78 Sports TV, Joe Abib, Chris Carlson at Rope-A-Dope Boxing, D-Style Boxing, everybody who got a YouTube page talking boxing. Ego, me and you fell out after you went crazy for a minute. But shouts out to everybody talking boxing. Fight Hype, Fight Hub, everybody. Ellie, you used to be cool, but you kept thinking you were bigger than everybody. I don't know, because you Jewish, maybe you was thinking like that. I don't know what your problem was. But, you know, I don't like the way you cover the sport, but still, you covering boxing, shouts out to you. Shouts out to everybody covering boxing. It's my greatest passion of love of sport. Boxing, baby. See the boxing greats up there? Oh, that's the Kobe. Yeah. You probably couldn't name all the fighters on there. I don't think you could, but I'm going to give you a shot. If I don't bust my it first. How many champions can you name? There's only probably about 4 on here I can't name. Or it's just their name is eluding me right now. I can't think of who that guy is. Or that guy to the right of him. Right next to Salvador Sanchez. I can't think of who that is. So that's two. So far, it's two guys I can't name. Okay, and there's two up there by Mike Tyson. And those are the two right now. The one on the right, man, I can't think of his name. No, I got Floyd Patterson. It's the guy next to Floyd Patterson and Marquez. That guy in the middle. I'm like, who is that? But what's crazy about this photo is they gotta make room for so many more. There's so many more. It's funny that they don't have a Klitschko on there at all. They don't have a Klitschko on here at all. Oh, Wilfredo Gomez, yeah, he's up there. Yeah, but to allude that Canelo was on steroids when he's being tested, it's like, it's petty. It's really petty, and I just felt that Floyd Mayweather shouldn't have done that. Because, first of all, Canelo Alvarez has been one of the fighters who agreed to do the testing, and factually speaking, he's never tested for anything positive again since he's been here and living in the United States now. Now, that was besides that, the steroid that was in his system that they found was okay, the steroid that they found in his system was actually one that is consistent with the meat that happens in Mexico. They can look at the labels and everything, but by rule, they had to suspend him for 6 months because it's the rule. You know, it was in his system. But they can tell that's the kind of steroid they put in the meat to, you know, for the chickens rather. Or so it's a common thing in Mexico that you can, but they can tell if you got it from indigestion, like by the amounts and the trait amounts. So if it was something that was astronomical, then they would know that this guy was doping in testing. That's why, then this is why as brothers, as blacks, we gotta stop that, because we hate when they do that to us, but then we turn around and do it to another. You see what I'm saying? That's when it's hypocritical, when you do it that way. If you think something is wrong, you don't go and do it to somebody else. Maybe, they would have said that if it was us. So that means it's okay for you to go and say it to somebody else. At least get the facts. And if it is what it is, if Canelo was using, I would tell you, like, all right, he's a dope cheat. Like, this stuff don't add up. This happened, this happened, this happened. It ain't that. There's no trail, there's no smoking gun, there's nothing. But what's sad and what I didn't like about this is that Floyd was doing that. When they tried to take away all your accomplishments, every time you beat a guy, once you beat him and your hands was raised, this was no longer the guy that could beat you. Now they got to roll to another guy. Shane Mosley was the guy that was supposed to beat Floyd. Floyd's avoiding Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley's the guy. Right? Remember they told us that? They almost bled you to death. So it's just that when people are put in these bubbles and they put people under these umbrellas of controversy and nonsense, they sweep all the other stuff under the rug. They sweep it all under the rug. But this is something that would, it was no need. You know what I'm saying? That's why it was so aggravating to see that happen. Because now they want to try to find something on Canelo because no one else is beating him. Now they got Better Beeve or whatever. Better Beeve is whatever is supposed to be able to beat him, or Bivol. Or Bivol's the guy that's gonna do it. They got every guy he beats. They got one guy waiting for him. Now David Benavidez is gonna be that guy. But he gets nothing from that fight yet. David hasn't really done nothing to really earn it. But hey, I would love to see it. To me, David gets hit too easy and tries to walk through guys. But I get why Floyd's big up in these guys, I am a Canelo fan, so you think I'm more a Canelo fan than a Mayweather fan? Go sit in the corner and think about that for me, and come back. Now, of course, they want Canelo's beating the guys they thought Canelo would lose to. HBO wanted Canelo to lose. This is why he lost trust with HBO, the whole thing, and he left. Because he knew that HBO had backed Triple G. Triple G was HBO's guy. And all this time, Canelo thought HBO had his back. He chose HBO when he first was on Showtime. He went back to HBO. He did the Mayweather pay-per-view and all of these things. It was on Showtime, and he went back to HBO. He had fought Austin Trout. Then he fought Mayweather. Right? He was doing all these good things when he was over there on Showtime. Then he went back to HBO, where it looked like it was going to be great for him, but their whole intentions was to use Canelo to feed him to build up Triple G. Triple G was their guy. And what shock and awe was it to them to see Canelo beat Triple G. So they had to have a rematch. Well, we got the money for it. Oh, damn. Now, since we got the money for it, now all we need to do now sorry about that. All we got to do now, since we got the money for it, is to have another fight. That's it. That's all we got to do. So if we keep having these fights, we won't have these problems. That's all anybody ever asked if somebody was like, look, let's go ahead, let's have these fights, let's get it on, let's get it over with, and then let's move on from there. The rematch showed Canelo fought the way that they wanted him to fight, because they wanted to try to take away Canelo's victory. Canelo didn't really win, Triple G just, fluke night. He ran all night. So why don't he fight Mexican style? So they feel like, he's like, what's Mexican style? You just go in there and get your head knocked off? Mexicans just love that. So he did that. He fought toe-to-toe with Triple G. It was whooping him. Whooping him. Toe-to-toe. Straight whooping the guy. Now what? Now what's the equation? What is the answer now? Gervonta Tank Davis, this is going to be an action-packed fight for however long it lasts. I don't see this fight going to the cards. Neither guy is going to box. Cruz is going for the knockout. Trust me on that. You ain't got to worry about if Cruz is going, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if let me tell you about this guy. He gonna throw all caution to the wind. He going in. His name is a pit bull for a reason. He fights like one. So this is tailor-made for Tank. And taking this fight on short notice, I know somebody just like, look, I'm gonna put $50 on Cruz. I'm like, hey, you're gonna lose that money. But Cruz gonna give you a fight for your money. Jim Lampley is the company man. So if it comes out of Jim Lampley's mouth, that's what HBO thinks. If it came flying out of Jim Lampley's mouth, that was HBO's take. He is a company man. He's not going against the company. He's going to say exactly what the company says and wants him to say. His program managers in his ear telling him what to say. Make sure you say this. Make sure you do that. But here's my thing. To show you how corrupt and stupid boxing is. But I can't really blame this on boxing. Gary Russell is still, Mr. Gary Russell is still one of the best fighters in that division. And the only loss he got is against Lomachenko. He is being kept away from Leo Santa Cruz and all these other fighters. And he was on PBC. They wouldn't give it to him. And he was coming up the same time as Adrian Broner. They were trying to pin them together because Gary didn't really have a voice, wasn't talking that much, and Adrian was flamboyant, so they was using them as, cross-branding. But Gary Russell Jr. fights entirely different. Now, put him in the ring with any of those fighters. I bet you Gary Russell Jr. beat him. He already beat JoJo Diaz. Put him in the ring with any of your so-called champions. He's the longest champion, WBC champion there is now. Longest reigning WBC champion is him. So, I know this is not the amateur. That's why I gave you one for the pros. But anyhow, we've spoken long enough. My prediction for the fight, Tank Davis wins by knockout in round 6. Talk about Floyd, no talk about Tank Davis. So I'm out.